greetings and aloha. As always, mahalo for tuning in to Doko Ga TV. On last week's show, episode 3 of our Europe Mania adventures, great landmarks and magnificent meals in Portugal was enjoyed by all on this GLOBUS and Non-Stop Travel tour. After departing Portugal, the 808 group headed to the city of Seville as we were on our way back to Spain. Our first stop was at the Cork Factory. I'll admit, aside from its role in the keeping and aging of wine, I had no clue there were so many other uses for it and that it's Portugal's national tree. David, our cork connoisseur, shared some key facts about this renowned Portugal product. Over 50% of the commercial cork in the world comes from Portugal. Cork trees, which are in the same family as oak, can live for hundreds of years and are protected by the Portuguese government. The bark from the cork tree renews every 9 years, and 3 cycles or 27 whole years must elapse before any cork can be harvested.
Wood in the center, cork on the outsides, in between we have a brown layer. I think everyone can see that. That's the living skin, that's the living bark of the tree, and it has to stay with the tree, because if we remove it, it will kill the tree. If we make a small cut on this layer, the tree will have a scar, and the new cork will never have quality where we did the cut. So we can never touch it. The difficult part is that we never know how deep we have to cut before cutting. So we have to go slowly. We make just a small cut, then we force it a little bit to the side. If it doesn't break or if it doesn't start coming off, we will try again and again until we feel that it starts releasing the tree. Then we will switch to the bottom of the X. We use this side as a lever. We will put it there between the cork and the tree and start forcing the cork to come out. Okay, that's how usually it works. Okay. On this board here, we have some examples of different qualities, different thicknesses. This is all cork.
For all my friends back home that enjoy wine, champagne, there's a very important factor in all of that that makes, of course, your drinking experiences whole, the fact that there's a cork on the very top, and that's why we're here. This is a cork, guys. We're sitting on cork chairs, and this is a cork master. This is our new friend, David. David, aloha, welcome to Doko Ga TV, and I have to tell you, I'm completely fascinated about cork and what you taught us today.
I grew up here with cork. It's in my family since I was young, but I'd say that something important that's related to everyone, it's the wine. A good part of the bottles of wine, they have cork. And cork, it's the only material that we know until today that allows the wine to breathe, to receive oxygen inside of a bottle of wine. So for wines that we want to keep for some years, for wines that we want to age, we have to use the cork. And then cork is very versatile. Nowadays we can do a huge amount of products. We can do, as you can see, furniture, we can do bags, we can do umbrellas, we can do, well,
yeah,
everything.
You know, when you say corks, I'm just thinking, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind as someone that enjoys wine and champagne, sometimes myself, is the most important part in being able to keep that, you know, that top on there. So you're mentioning there are different grades of cork, you know, ones that allow it to breathe more, ones that are more dense.
Less dense ones are used for wines that don't stay for too long, and the denser ones for wines that we want to keep for more time. And that's how we tell about the quality. Then when we use the cork, and also it's important to explain to the people that cork, it's a dead bark, it's not a living part of the tree anymore. So by extracting the cork, we don't damage the tree at all, and it's regenerating all the time. Even if it's a slow process, it takes 9 years to grow between the extractions. But it's like when we cut a nail, it's when we cut the hair, we are just removing a dead part of the tree.
Bags, hats, that blew my mind.
80 years ago, 100 years ago, people had to use what they had, what nature provided on that time. So these people used this as a bowl, as we use nowadays a plastic bowl. Cork bowls were used for everything here, like wash clothes inside. This size more or less to give food and water to the animals, to put fruits inside, to put something like that.
Nothing is wasted of the cork, as you mentioned. You know, even from when you showed us some bags of just kind of like ground up cork, and you're mentioning like the various uses, Hollywood, explosions to kind of show that, shrapnel, sand, whatever it is that comes off of it. Also in the stadium you're saying, or for sports?
Yes, they have been using a lot now in soccer fields. You see it in music studios, you see it in movie theaters.
How many years have your family been doing this now?
Since my great-grandfather, maybe around 100 years, more or less.
100 years, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, man. This
welcome.
is great. I gotta get time to get in there and shop a little bit because they have really cool items in there, and I saw a hat that I was kind of eyeballing, and I mentioned bags. There's all these different things, and we're sitting again on cork chairs. This is great for at home, and it's comfortable, and they're light.
And they float, so you can
put
them on the pool.
There you go. Dual-purpose seating here on Doko Ga TV. Again, following our adventures through Spain, Portugal, and then some. As always, mahalo for tuning in. Take care. Aloha.
As we make our way across Spain and Portugal, there's a never-ending array of magnificent and monolithic churches, monuments, and structures that preserve, accentuate, and enhance each province or city's importance in Europe's history. As soon as the 808 group and I walked into the Plaza de Espana, the sheer scale and magnitude of the 50,000 plus square meters was truly epic. Built for the 1929 Ibero-American Expo, the plaza symbolizes Spain's history and highlights its advancements and accomplishments in architecture. Every inch of this area is captivating, and the semicircle layout of the grounds hugs visitors as you stand at its center fountain while each of the towers embraces and surrounds you. The intricately painted ceramic tile alcoves and benches throughout the square represent each Spanish province and are a popular picture-taking spot. I couldn't think of a better introduction to the Plaza de Espana than to be entertained with fantastic flamenco music and dance.
Folks, aloha and welcome back to a brand new special adventure. Doko Ga TV here on Hawaii News Now at KHNO and K5, and of course, thank you all for tuning in. Now, I know this doesn't look like Japan at all. It doesn't look like Alaska or Mexico. We are in beautiful Spain, Plaza de Espana. Right. This is Abadi, my new brother. He is taking care of us on this entire tour. Tour director, again, big mahalo to GLOBUS and Non-Stop Travel. Abadi, thank you so much for your time, brother. So we're in a very special place right now, and we're surrounded by this beautiful structure.
And this is a Plaza de Espana. Actually was built in 1928, and then the government decided to have this part for the Hispano-American World Expo of 1929 to promote tourism.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
So we have plenty of other nations from South America, including Morocco, because Morocco was a Spanish colony, and also this is the Spanish Pavilion, which is one of the best examples, actually.
I see.
After that, it is the upper building. It's used by the government and military, but the lower part, the ground floor of it, it is used for the newlyweds to celebrate their wedding.
I can see why.
And also they shot some movies here, like Lawrence of Arabia, Peter O'Toole, Anthony Quinn, Omar Sharif.
Wow.
They have been shot here in 1962. Many others like Star Wars and...
Star Wars.
Yes, right.
Between Lawrence of Arabia and Star Wars.
Right,
I can see why. This is like the perfect locale, you know, to film and to be able to capture this history. You're mentioning there's like 4 main structures here, towers to represent Spain.
It has a meaning, really. I mean, the 4 towers, the 4 bridges, representing the early 4 kingdoms of Spain. It was the first kingdom, like Castilla, Navarra, Leon, and Aragon.
Aragon, Navarra,
Leon, Castilla, and Aragon. The king Ferdinand.
Okay.
Ferdinand.
And then
Isabella is the queen of Castilla. The 2 big ones, actually.
I see.
Navarra and Leon was not as big, but they join Castilla. They get along well, but not Aragon. Aragon, they were there. It's a big state, actually. And they did not like to be led by Castilla, and this is why they were fighting who is going to take over. The Spaniards were divided among themselves until when they decided to join each other. For example, Navarra, Leon, and Castilla became only one kingdom. but not Aragon. Aragon was the biggest state. They did not like to be led by Castilla, and they were fighting against each other. The Spanish, the Christian fighting against each other, until when Isabella, the Queen of Castilla, decided to have this political marriage. They hated each other, and then this is the way it was. But it was obvious they have to join forces, create an army, and then they went all together down to Granada, which was the last stronghold of the Moors, and then they ousted the Muslims and the Jews for good and forever. And it was exactly in 1492, the same year they have discovered the New World of the Americas because of Christopher Columbus. The great year when they have, these glory days. So this place has a lot of meaning to the Spanish people.
Well, the palace we're about to visit, it was built in the 1500s. One of the ancestors of the current Duke of Medinaceli, he was a crusader. In the Middle Ages, he went to Jerusalem with the other crusaders from all over Europe, and he was visiting a palace called the Praetorium. The Praetorium was the residence of the governor of Jerusalem, which was a province of the Roman Empire. And when Jesus was killed, the governor of Rome, the gentleman living in that palace, was Pontius Pilate. So this Duke from Seville, this crusader, was visiting the house of Pontius Pilate. When he was back in our city, he wanted to do something to connect somehow the experience he had in Jerusalem with his palace in our city. And he did a procession going from the palace to this street all the way down, goes to a small Gothic chapel. The distance from the palace to that cross, it is the same distance that Jesus walked from the house of Pontius Pilate to the Golgotha. And locals, they did immediately the connection and start calling the place the House of Pilate. You see all these arches that is typical of the Arab decoration. And you see stucco framing the windows and doors, okay? The windows are typically Moorish. Also the arches here. This mudéjar style is the blend of Moorish and Christian arch. But you see upstairs, the pillars of white marble, there is a Gothic balustrade, that's Gothic. And below the Gothic balustrade and above this white stucco, you see those are frescoes, Renaissance frescoes. We see Gothic, Moorish, Renaissance. If you think it's still not confusing enough, we also have a collection of Roman statues, as I told you. Statue, the one I'm pointing now, is maybe the best piece of the collection. It's the only one which is not Roman. That one is Greek. The artist was an artist of the school of Phidias, the great master of Greek sculpture. And the subject of the statue is goddess Pallas Athenas, the goddess of war. There's Minerva of Pallas Athenas. She's wearing a helmet and holding a lance and a shield. And the dancer in there is Melos. Her connection with the music, that's why she's holding a tambourine, see? From Melos, we got the word melody. In Spanish, in Italian, in Portuguese, it's melodia. You see this small bust on top of the fountain. It's also a Roman statue, and it's god Janus. According to Roman mythology, Janus could see the past and the future. That's why it has two faces, you see? He's facing past and facing future. He gave his name to Janus, facing past and future, gave his name to the first month of the year. January comes from Janus, because January is facing past, and New Year is the future. The popular name of this room we are is really brilliant. They call it the room of the fountain. I don't know how long it took them to arrive to that conclusion. Look at this beautiful ceiling, plenty of stars. Imagine this is your bedroom. Before you go to bed, late evening, you light your candles or oil lamps. Flames will produce vibrations on those golden stars. Stars will go shining like if you open your eyes in the middle of the night, you could dream that you were sleeping open air in a starry night. There's always a connection between the weather and architecture. The houses in a region where it snows all the time has nothing to do with our architecture. The problem in here in Seville is the heat. In this patio, this is more a Roman patio than a local patio. Our patios are the same thing, but plenty of flowers, plants. The patio is like an inside garden. If you open in the summer nights when it's so hot, you open your bedroom door, facing the plants and flowers and the patio, okay? And you also open one window facing, in this case, the gardens. It's cooler. You get ventilation. The air needs to go through this of the patio, the plants of the patio. This was a Moorish city, and obviously there was not any Christian church or cathedral. There was a big mosque. That tower was built by the Moors the year 1198, when Seville was under the Arab domination. Then when King San Fernando, the conqueror of Seville, was a king who became saint later, in the same place what the cathedral is now. Our mosque cathedral, let's say that way, fell down. Second half of the 14th century, there was a big earthquake. The mosque cathedral fell down, but not the tower. It's amazing, I know, but that's the way it was. After the earthquake, they needed a cathedral, and secondly, building a new cathedral according to the tendencies of architecture in Europe in 1401, which was Gothic. And they kept the tower to be their bell tower, medieval recycling, you see? That's why when we approach the cathedral, you'll see that there are three different styles. The tower is Moorish, 12th century. The cathedral is Gothic, 15th century. And the bell top is Renaissance, 16th century. We still have the rims of the amphitheater. There's plenty of Roman mosaics and many Roman statues in the archaeological museum. We are descendants of everybody because everyone has been here. The Greeks have been in this region we are. The Phoenicians, they had in Seville one of their main ports, because you know the Phoenicians, they were trading, and Seville is an excellent location connecting Atlantic and Mediterranean ports. The Carthaginians, the Romans, the Moors, the Visigoths came after the fall of the Roman Empire. Everyone has been here. The Cathedral of Santa Maria, which is the name of this church, it is the largest Gothic cathedral in the world. It has 44 chapels inside. In those days, the very common way to finance the construction of cathedrals was offering to certain families the privilege of owning a private place to have their mass for them and their families, their weddings, or even to bury their people. You'll see inside, through the bars, you'll see very often the tombs of people. For those families, it was a matter of prestige. So imagine a conversation. Listen, I am the Duke of whatever, but don't forget that my family owns a chapel in the cathedral, and we have a solid gold tabernacle on the altar. So after spending a fortune marketing of their family, of their title, they set the bars to protect their investment. That's why. 4 times a year, the cathedral offers different exhibitions. You see, they use the embroideries for the dresses for the Madonna from a dress of Queen Isabel II of Spain. She was the sister of the princess who gave the gardens to the city. Behind me, that monument is the tomb of Christopher Columbus. His remains are in the casket on top. He's not underneath. His remains are in that big casket on top. And the artist, the designer of this, thought, well, I need a casket and 4 pillars for something to hold the casket. In Spain, there were 4 Christian kingdoms, remember? Castile, Leon, Navarra, and Aragon. Those were the 4 kingdoms. Easy, I have already my 4 holders. He died in a city in Castile called Valladolid. But then his elder son transferred the bones of his father to the city of Santo Domingo, the capital of Dominican Republic. When Spain lost that colony, they sent his bones to Cuba until 19th century, Spanish-American War of Cuba, back to Seville, to these monuments of our cathedral. In Dominican Republic, they have another tomb of Columbus. They say that the Spaniards made a mistake and they sent to Cuba the remains of somebody else. For the 5th centenary of the discovery of America, there were experts in DNA tests of the University of Granada. They compared with the remains of his second son. There was also a lady, a descendant of Columbus, and the result is that the remains we keep up there are remains of Columbus.
Known for its beautiful beaches, parks, and outdoor activities, after departing the city of Sevilla, the GLOBUS and Non-Stop Travel group made a quick stop to the town of Torremolinos for some shopping, sightseeing, and of course, snacking. One of the first things we discovered from day one in Spain was that Spanish hot chocolate is very unique and decadently delicious, not to mention readily available wherever we went throughout this trip. Our hotel buffets had it, and we found it at many coffee and pastry shops. Resembling more of a chocolate syrup with just the right amount of sweetness to it, you can dip or drink this ingeniously created treat.
Good?
It's like a pudding. So good. It's so good.
That's not acting, folks. That's real. That's real.
It's really good.
That is perfect.
Dip it a lot. No, you have to dip. Oh, scoop. Do a scoop. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Good.
Die for.
As always, mahalo for tuning in to Doko Ga TV right here on Hawaii News Now, K5 and KHNL. Join us next week for part 5 of our Europe Mania video diary series.